limited memory AI with Elon Musk, with driverless car, autonomous machines. What Stephen Hawking was worried about was when we reach theory of mind and self-aware AI, we are going to get more into anxiety. But I was giving this keynote address in 2019, where I was actually talking about this entire thing at Mumbai. And I said, in 10 years, we will be talking theory of mind. July 2022, I got an email saying that Blake Lemoine has been sent on gardening leave from Google because he cracked the theory of mind. So didn't happen 10 years later, happened just 2 years later, and that COVID was 2 years. Now, the beauty of this was that we are already on theory of mind now. So, which means we are not saying that it's going to come in the future, it's already come, but the restriction of its usage is very controlled at this point in time. But it has absolute emotions and independence to act. Now, will it have consciousness is the question next, and that's where Stephen Hawking was more worried. And I'm just going to move it to saying that if we have to move health 2.0 in this area, these are the areas: records, repetitive jobs, treatment designing, digital consultation, virtual nurses, medication management, drug creation, precision medicine, health monitoring, health system analysis. These are about 10 areas we are currently focusing on. There are many more areas which we need to build on these layers. And our robots are one such thing that have made some move. I was just saying, from a few years back when you used to wash up, to now a machine has washed up and you're far away, to now explaining this, which I was telling sir, that we have small hands and big eyes now with the robots. And that is what makes us make this so easy. So one such area which I wanted to show, which became a global disruption for me, was, we were taught classically that when you have a tongue cancer, which is failed chemoradiotherapy, you have to remove the tongue and the entire throat, which is your voice box, your larynx, and part of the hypopharynx. I had a patient who had refused this, saying that I'd rather die than go through that surgery. So when he came to me, 67-year-old gentleman, I told him that, can we do this with a robot? Now, conventional teaching for me all through my life was, you cannot remove the ground floor and keep the first floor intact. You cannot remove the base tongue fully and say that there's a tongue, because the foundation of the tongue is the base tongue. So it has to be this procedure. But I asked my interventional radiologist, what if we can actually, because my anatomy knowledge was a little decent, I said, what if we can actually only target this? You embolize the posterior branches of the lingual artery only, which are very tiny branches, and we remove the ground floor and just keep the first floor. Let's see what happens, because he's ready to give us the consent. So we went through the ethics board, we went through the thing, cleared it, and we got this done. We embolized it. My interventional radiologist was phenomenal. He only went to that small site with sub-millimeter catheters and then was able to embolize this. And then I was able to remove this entire thing. I've skipped the slide of the surgery for the paucity of time, but believe me, my friends, the entire surgery took me 15 minutes. There was not a drop of blood. I got bored because there was nothing. It was like a cadaveric dissection. And I just realized that he made it too easy for me, But the beauty of this was, in 7 days, this man was speaking. That was his tongue out. Okay, the ground floor was not there, the first floor was working. And I did the video endoscopy to see how is his larynx, no aspiration, no penetration, he was eating. So I got him eating in 10 days. Now, this I felt is a technology leap that could be done. Now, I performed about 20 odd such procedures, and then I published it as an original article in one of the world's best journals to actually make a point to say, this is where technology and talent can come together. We disrupt technology. I just shifted the entire bar towards a little more of a progressive step to say that we can do something like this, we can achieve this goal. And today it's become a small benchmark on its own, correct? Just shifted a procedure to its another level of. So now it's well published, well acknowledged. After that, I published several such papers on this to actually talk about how we can use some of these technologies inside the intraoperative OTs. Okay, I'm just going to skip through some of these, but just to tell you, this is one of the drugs I've invented. In the last 10 years, this is the first cancer drug that's invented and got a patent into it. I have no chemistry background. My friend who funded this whole thing is a PhD chemistry expert, drug discovery, blah, 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 USA, US FDA. And he told me, he said, Vishal, this is just a waste of time. I'm just funding you because I think it's you. And so I think it's okay if it goes down the drain. But it worked. The drug worked. Now we are going into clinical trials. We invented a immunotherapy drug, again, which is now in phase 2 clinical trials from India. We used a lot of computational biology techniques to understand the molecules. We've invented a P53-based vaccine, cancer vaccine, in our center. These are some of the tracheostomy tubes. I was telling Ayub that now I have a full factory which manufactures plastic silicone, because at one point government of India said, look, you're already doing devices and products, right? You need to have an ecosystem. So they actually helped me build a clean room factory. We have 3 factories like this in India. 2 of them are not available for anybody because they are all privatized, but the one which is mine is available for new inventors to make new instruments, design new instruments, because I thought this will become a CDMO kind of a facility where new inventors are going to be given an opportunity to invent their devices. And I've got now orders from Russia, America, Germany, and several other places who are asking me for orders because they want to shift their manufacturing here now. So now we've invented our own retractors now for robots. This is another drug which we invented, which was a herbal drug, and I just wanted to make this mention to tell you the problem with Ayurveda was that it was being given a bad name. So I went the US FDA route. So I had this drug. I wanted to use the US FDA route. So I went, funded a lot of it through US FDA. So partnered with US FDA labs to look at molecular studies, safety studies, efficacy studies, comparative studies with allopathic drugs. So government of India put another category of slot for us called allopolyherbals. They said this is not a Ayush proprietary medicine. I opened it like a paracetamol, saying this is what it is, this is the mechanism of action. And I did not do the mistake like what people did in curcumin. In curcumin, people removed the curcumin from haldi and said, we want to patent it. Nothing happened out of it. The only data that today is being shown on curcumin is from Dr. G. Padmanabhan from Indian Institute of Science, showed something very simple, that if you use curcumin with anything, it improves its efficacy. That's all. Which means that if I stand next to I feel I will be able to do his work better. Or if I stand next to me, I'll be able to do my work better. The fundamental thing is what agent you're using, it improves its efficacy as a coenzyme, which actually is going to work to improve its efficacy. By itself, it's useless. It may not do any of these preventative works. Now, it's a simple thing. So they told me, don't take it out. Don't take out that secret concoction that you found out from this entire mix of molecules that you're seeing. Because the moment you take it out, it's going to become lonely. It's not going to be able to do its work. You'll get a patent. So we've not kept it that way. We've structured it in this way. We've invented the first XR surgical loop. It's an extended reality surgical loop because we believe that small specs with that thing is too costly. So we've devised it at less than 50K. We've partnered for this with Epson, but now we've got more partners. We're just looking because the software and the entire technology is ours. We've done the extended reality loops, and I believe we can put our thought to more of these kind of things because India doesn't do hardware. So we're now working with part of defense experts to look at understanding hardwares for XRs. So this is our ecosystem that we're building right now. It's called Maker's Nest. We want to look at ideas to proof of concept like a Formula One concept. I would want you all to just do this reading on how can you use Formula One techniques in medicine. There's a lot of articles on this, thought-provoking, to understand what are the techniques that you can use from Formula One, which can improve the actual efficiency in medicine science. I think it's fascinating. So what we did was we wanted to create an ecosystem, we're building an office where people come, pitch young inventors, and we'll give them funding, market access, market intelligence, regulatory IP. 5 things we'll give them. They should go out in 1 hour with some company and a space here. That's what we wanted to do. We've kind of almost there now. We've got government support. We've got some funding. We're structuring the whole thing. So I was telling Ayub sometime back when I met His Holiness, he told me an idea comes to you, not from you. And I think I believe in that ideas are to be opened up. And so we run a lot of initiatives on copyleft, not copyright, just to disrupt. So the first time when I organized this program, I must tell you all, my chairman was very upset. He said, what nonsense is this? He says, why you want to block the auditorium for a program like this? I said, no, this I think is relevant. He's like, what are you planning to do out of it? I said, we are going to rob each other's ideas. He's like, that's ridiculous. Who would want to consent for that? I said, many may. And it was 150 people who registered for it. Everybody wanted to steal each other's ideas. Brilliant people. All of them came. We all exchanged ideas. 1 year later, I evaluated the program to understand that there was more collaboration than competition. Actually, I realized the actual good ideas, nobody could take it and run. He needed to, like if I stole Ayub's idea today and ran from here, from Karad to Kolhapur now, I'll have to come back next month and come back and tell you, look, I finished till here, but I'm not able to solve this part of it. And I'll still need him. And that's what happened with good ideas. There were ideas which are substandard, which people, I feel, are increasing redundancy of the world, but it's actually not true inventions or innovations in the true right of it. So this is from the larger principle of paying it forward, not backward, but do it to something else for the society and do it larger. And so I made a podcast on this called Ignorance is Power, because I had given one of these talks at Harvard, and it was 50 CEOs of the world. And one of them was this Rolls Royce head. And he comes to me and walks to me and says, "Look, I really like this whole concept. Would you like to work with us?" And I said, "This is fascinating." I told him, "I love your car, but I've never been able to have the money to own it." So I said, "Do guide me on this." So he said, "We work on turbines and other things." And he said, "We want a non-domain fellow." The problem today is we are getting too domain specific, which means I don't enter a neuro OT. A neurologist doesn't enter a gynecology OT or an obstetrics OT. And a community medicine person thinks that I should be in the community and not enter into the hospital. Things that are not connected. So how can inside medical non-domain contribute to each other is a question. And I think that's where ignorance will be power to actually do it. Rolls-Royce told me that they are going to children to understand how to draw new cars, because they said they are better, because the engine is drawing the same old car with the same old tires. So it's better to go to children in schools and ask them, "What do you want?" And they were drawing flying cars and other things, more interesting than our conventional approach. So this is our pit stop approach in Maker's Nest for fast tracking innovations. We want to try and do it to encourage the ecosystem of innovation, so that we are not stuck with incubators, excavators, accelerators. We have no name at all. We just say we don't want any of these guys, because the problem is giving you a desk and a table and then telling you sit there. An innovator doesn't need those. He needs these 5 things. So we're just trying to fast track that innovation and open up to a new era. We say, it's the old saying, if opportunity knocks the door, open the door. We are saying, if the opportunity knocks, we just create a door. There's no door out here right now in this point, because we are in an ecosystem of disruption. Ecosystem has no opportunity, no knocking, and no door. So you'll need to create one, just knock at it and initiate this. And that's the ecosystem we are trying to build here. I'll end with this video. Can you put this mic on? This is my last slide. I promise I have to leave after this and rush to Kolhapur to get my flight, which I hope to get. Yeah. So I just play this because I thought this is a very inspiring video that inspired me a lot. Is the sound on? Yeah, I'll just play it.
If you have an idea
Increase
and
the
you
volume.
genuinely think is good, don't let some idiot talk you out of it. We had already, I think maybe the X-Men, I can't remember the order, but my publisher came to me and I want you to come up with another superhero. So I said, okay, went home and when my so what can I come up with now? Is the superpower. Once you get that, everything else comes along. So when I give a new guy, I saw a fly growing on the wall. Hey, if I can get a superhero, I can stick the world forward. That would be cool. So I thought that would be man, old man. I got that. It just sounded so okay. I had my hero and I'm going to get him personal. It's not your life perfect, but how the other way. There were no teenagers. I know. All that material, ideas. I ran into my publisher's office. I told you. This was my reaction. The reaction he gave me. Stan, that is the worst idea I have ever heard. First of all, and he started to give me a break because he's a very logical man, very intellectual. First of all, people hate spiders, so you can't call a hero Spider-Man. You want him to be a teenager. Teenagers can only be sidekicks. And you want him to have personal problems. Stan, don't you know what a superhero is? They don't have personal problems. Well, I left the office disappointed, but obviously a much wiser man. And I couldn't get Spider-Man out of my system. So we think about the magazine. Wasn't going well, and he was saying, when you do the last thing of the magazine, what we can get in the right of into my office. Now, why am I telling you this? Besides the fact that I have an idea that you genuinely think is good. Don't let some idiot. That doesn't mean that every wild notion you come up with is going to be cheated. But if there is something that you feel is good, something you want to do, something that means something to you, try to do it. Because I think you can only do your best work if you're doing what you want to do, and you're doing it the way you think it should be done. Just do your thing, do it as well as you. That's the important thing. Don't shirk whatever you do. Put it in extra. Hey.
So I think I'll close with this. Thank you very much. Again, special thanks to Ayub, Devdas sir, and the entire team for this wonderful event. It's been a special experience. It's been a promise that I've made to him for long. I've completed it and a lot more to do from here. Thank you.
Vishal, thank you so much, buddy. When we have restless minds, we have many of them here. We have Kazadi, Ramdas, Bill, Vanta, Anupamesya, Charlie is here, okay, and Hassan, Shastri. We have crazy people in the audience, okay? We have really crazy people. We had a lot more, but we have really, truly crazy people in the audience. This is exactly what my dream was, to get all the crazy people under one roof, okay? And finally, we have succeeded in getting you here too. Now, what for me, 2007, we started off with a crazy idea that opening cisterns can help relieve pressure in traumatic brain injury. Massive impact, because 5/6 of the world, the most important thing in neurosurgery is trauma. Always done by 100-year-old surgery. And people told me, you're a fantastic skull-based guy, you're a vascular guy. Why go fight in trauma meetings? And people told me it wouldn't work. This is not going to work, because we have, and when I went to Adambrook, I remember presenting my first time, I went in 2009, I presented it. The English guys told me it was very interesting. And I didn't know what was interesting, because I thought it was actually a compliment. But then my British friend told me interesting in British English means it's bullcrap. So, but today we have a book. TMI has published a book. We have more than 80 countries doing it. And Michael Schumacher's personal neurosurgeon had come to us, learned cystonostomy, went back and started it in Europe. And after that, we realized the CSF goes into the brain for cooling. And we figured out that sinuses actually cools the brain. So when you do breathing, what you're doing is actually you're cooling the brain. We discovered for the first time, we described for the first time how the brain is cooled. And it has got so many implications. When I talked about it in Paris, Ian Opris, who was the book editor for Springer Nature, he was hearing this talk and he told me, we are going with the Springer Nature book in another 2 weeks. You have 10 days. I will delay the book. You have 10 days. Can you write it up and give it to me? We wrote it up, gave it to him. It's a Springer Nature chapter. Then we started working on hypervision. We started working on robotics. We did so many other things. And if you ask me why I do it, I mean, it's because I love doing it. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the recognition. It's just that that thinking process gets something out of my mind. When it's like pregnancy. You have something in your mind and you have to deliver it. And many times, as you said, these things are crazy. I mean, they don't meet up with any current standards. I mean, they are completely, as you said, the term disruptive is the right term for these. And sometimes Ramdas finds it difficult to rein me in, because the kind of ideas that I go into into the theater or managing a unit sometimes is not practical. But you have Ramdas, Debu, and Selva. Selva is the main stabilizing factor. So we have people stabilizing it. But believe me, I love this. Okay, I mean, I love my crazy ride. So we have all these guys here now. We have a group from Gujarat. They're diamanteers. Okay, they're diamanteers. Can you believe it? We went to their company. We told them that we want this robot which will make the interventions in a completely different level. Here they are. The whole company is here. We have youngsters from Hyderabad who are into virtual reality and augmented reality. They came into my theater. They put my exoscope image and the angios together. They are my missing piece for my hypervision. Now, so we are doing this. We practice this. We love this. Only thing is we don't know how to patent it. We've never written it up. We share our ideas with everybody. People tell me, no, it's last time I was talking about this idea. Atul Goyal came and told me in the meeting, you cannot talk about it till you publish it. We don't believe it's right. As you rightly said, ideas come to you. Ideas are not from you. So we believe the ideas belong to everybody. So yes, sometimes, as you said, we have to protect ourselves from somebody who says that, we have stolen it from them. Many times that has happened to us. Okay. For Zeiss, we told Zeiss 8 years back when the Pentero was on. I talked to Frank Zeitzinger, the main chap at Zeiss, and I told him we want an endoscope. And we told them in a completely different way. They came out with a Kinevo, which has an endoscope. They never told us. And that was a completely wrong thing. It was not useful. I was not unhappy that he stole it, but I was unhappy the way he executed it was way inferior to what we wanted it. So I think in this room, we have young, bright minds who would be willing to stay hungry and foolish. And this is what we want to tap. And maybe a few years down the line, I mean, people like you and we can really create a, revolution. And this is exactly what we want. This is why I wanted the last day to be like this. Okay. That we discuss disruptive ideas and we make products out of it. And we start leading in these kind of things without any paradigms, not even paradigm shift, breaking paradigms. Okay. Thank you very much for coming down, Vishal. We really appreciate it. I know you have to rush. Okay. We'll get you to the flight and we will start the session again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sirs. Now we have Mr. Neerav Patil to speak on robotics and autonomy in minimally invasive neurosurgery. Please, sir.
Okay, see ya. Yeah. I'll just check if this thing is working. Okay, seems to be working. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So it was interesting to see what Dr. Vishal actually talked about. A lot of different ideas coming from wild thought processes. I'm going to present on what I've built over a period of more than a decade and what I've learned over a period of more than a decade and what we are doing now. So those of you who don't know, I come from IIT Madras. I'm a faculty there. We have a beautiful campus. If you are ever in Chennai, please reach out to me. I would be happy to see you there. And I'm part of engineering design department. As it says, we design things. And particularly what I work on is in robotics. So we build medical robotic systems. My lab focuses on multitude of areas. Currently, what we are focusing on is image-guided surgeries, a little bit of surgical planning and navigation, and a little bit of more of science fiction kind of a goal, which is achieving some level of autonomy in soft tissue robotics. That is one of the areas that we are looking at. As I said, it's a science fiction for most part right now. We are far, far from it. So I'm going to talk about a couple of projects a bit more in depth, and the others I'll just show if we have time. I'm going to start with neurosurgery, because that's what we are here for. When it comes to CT or MR guided robotic systems, we have primarily three kinds of systems, and this has evolved over a long period of time, going from bedside or tableside systems like ROSA to InnoMotion, which was for transcutaneous prostate biopsy, on the table, to something that is now getting onto body-mounted robots. We don't really have robots which are body-mounted to be. So this is a remote actuated system from ClearPoint. I started working on this area of image-guided surgery more than a decade back during my PhD, and I was fortunate enough to be part of various systems which were evaluated at various levels, starting from, of course, benchtop evaluations to clinical trials. This system, what you see, is for real-time MR-guided neuroablation. In fact, this system was initially being designed for DBS and then was extended for ablation. And first clinical trial of DBS electrode placement using a similar system is going to happen at Brigham and Women's. That's a spin-off from my PhD lab. My PhD advisor started a company, AIM Medical System, which is commercializing some of these aspects. Then I got to work on prostate biopsy, which I got a flavor of running clinical trials using a robotic system to perform transperineal prostate biopsies inside the scanner board. So it gives you semi-real-time feedback. So you have intra-op MR, every few millimeters of insertion, you get an image and confirm that are we inserting the needle to the desired location or not. So this was really a great experience for me to see taking a system from a lab to an operating room and actually using on a patient. And that journey is quite painful at times when you're doing research because it requires a lot of engineering. The bench side or benchtop evaluation to clinical translation is tremendous amount of engineering that we have to do. Safety doesn't matter when you're doing something in lab. Safety becomes paramount when you put that right next to the patient. So your entire thought process completely goes upside down. Then I got a chance to work on a system which is where I picked up body-mounted robots. This is at Hopkins, and we're working with Children's National in Washington, D.C. We're doing for shoulder arthrography. I won't go too much in detail, but typically it's performed under two steps. You do contrast agent injection under fluoroscopy, and then the patient is wheeled to MR. So you have, for kids particularly, you want to avoid the first phase. If you can do entire procedure in the MR, it's safer for them, and it reduces the kind of anxiety in the kids because they are finishing the whole procedure in the same room. Again, this was evaluated in a couple of cadaver studies in UK, and we also did volunteer studies to look at the clinical workflow. So all of these systems were at a place where we are looking at a complete system integration. And so this is what I learned basically during my PhD and postdoc. This was another robot for injections into the nerve roots for back pain management. A similar system mounted onto the back of the patient's body. So taking all of that learning I had, I started a lab at IITM, focusing on developing robotic systems that can be attached onto human body. It can be any organ. For now, I started with brain. So we came up with a really small robot that can be attached onto the skull. Our goal is it should be able to do almost all minimally invasive procedures except DBS. DBS requires much higher precision. We will reach there eventually. Right now, our accuracies are in range of millimeters, so we can't really do DBS yet. Our goal is one of the important aspect is to keep the cost low. The current cost for a stereotactic frame itself is prohibitive, and so we want to actually beat that and provide a better technology at the same time. That's what we are looking at. We have developed every single component in the lab. So we have developed this robot, the complete mechanical design of the robot. And as Dr. Vishal mentioned that, a lot of things come out from outside your domain. By training, I'm a computer scientist, but I do work on purely mechanical designs. That's what I picked up during my PhD and postdoc as well. And that ideas going beyond your own formal education actually has helped in a tremendous way. Because some of these systems that we have come up with, if I go to a mechanical engine, they would say you should not use them. Because it's a sliding joint. If I'm going a bit into detail, but that's what has helped actually to come up with new ideas. Oh, okay. What was sleeping? Okay. So we have developed basically a robotic system, which is a 4D freedom manipulator, allowing you to precisely position the needle guide to either put a needle for biopsy or an ablation probe. We have an embedded controller system. We have also got a surgical planning system. This is using 3D Slicer and open source software. We have set up everything within the 3D Slicer environment, basically. So we went from version 1, which was a bulky robot, to version 2 in about a year, making it feasible to mount this onto the skull. The first version was really difficult to mount. And then we started evaluation of this robot. So we, of course, being an academic lab, we start from the benchtop evaluation. We evaluated in the lab using optical tracking system, giving us accuracy of about 3.5 millimeters, acceptable for almost all procedures except DBS. For most part, if your tumors are 5 millimeters or larger, they can be targeted basically. Then the next step is to go and see if we can do the pre-op CT guidance. So we took our robot, we put it onto a skull, we created a simple frame. Of course, that's not what we would clinically use. But idea is robot is attached to the skull. One of the major advantages of this is that patient motion doesn't matter anymore. There is no relative motion between patient's anatomy and the robot. That means even if I don't really stabilize the patient's head completely, the registration between patient, anatomy, and robot is already there all the time. And so that has an advantage. I could acquire the scans. I can wheel this patient from there to an OR without losing any information. So that kind of gets rid of the traditional optical tracking systems you see in majority of the image-guided surgery suites. This is one of the things that we see as an advantage. It's a cost reduction as well. You got rid of one of the expensive components from the OR. And so this is, again, a lot of thought processes gone in bringing this idea of keeping the cost low while designing something that is manufacturable as well. It's not that we just build robots which are very complex because they are hard to manufacture then. So we do all of those things in the lab, which we focus on is saying, simplify the design to the point that it's as simple as putting together a Lego. If we can reach there, that's where I think we'll be able to scale it better. So these are some of the ideas. And then when we did this evaluation, it pretty much fit perfectly well along with the patient head into the CT scanner. We prepared this phantom you see over here had embedded targets, those cylindrical circles you see. There were circles with 1 millimeter, 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, and 5 millimeter diameters. And so we targeted basically the center of each of these from the CT using 3D Slicer, we selected target. Registration was done manually, but can be done with surface-to-surface registration. And then we insert the needle and see where the needle ended up. So we are able to already confirm that how accurate we are. And we saw that the accuracy is again in the same ballpark, about 3 millimeters, which is a good sign. That means we are not really losing by bringing in now an imaging modality. Benchtop evaluation versus the intra-op CT showed us a way saying that this can work. And so what you see over here is on the top right over here, we have planned a procedure where the entry point on the skull and the target on one of those cylinders at the center was selected. Robot did the planning, it executed the trajectory, and then in a second I'll be inserting the needle and we see where it ends up. Of course, a better way would be to do this inside the city, and nothing prevents us from doing that. The procedure is already set up. It's just that we are not there yet. That's the next step. We'll be looking at intraoperative city guidance. So can we validate this while robot and the skull is in the city? Okay. So where are we going now? We are looking at clinical optimization. Of course, we have not yet addressed sterility. How do we keep the sterile field intact? So that is one aspect that has now popped up, and we had kept that back in the design as well. But that is what we are going to work on. Of course, we have to work on clinical workflow management. Our idea is to not disturb the workflow as much as possible, because that is what makes it more acceptable as well. And then in a year or so, we are targeting cadaver studies. Particularly, we need to look at the mounting mechanism because it's being attached onto the skull. We want to be sure. We have some prior knowledge from ClearPoint system, because that is also mounted onto the skull. So it is feasible to do. The question is, how much weight can it take? The robot weighs actually just 400 grams. So it should be feasible to actually put this robot onto the skull. And then, of course, for next 3 years, we are looking at working with industry and going for regulatory approvals if everything goes well. As Dr. Vishal said, the gestation period typically is 17 years. We have been able to bring it down because we knew exactly what to do from beginning. As I said, the other MR-guided DBS system work started in 2007. So about right, 17 years. 15, 17 years it took to reach there. We won't take 15, 17 years though. Our goal is to submit it to CDSU in 3 years. That is the goal for now, at least. Oh, it went away. That went to sleep, probably the laptop. Okay, so I'm going to briefly now go through autonomy part. Where do we bring autonomy? And while the robot is not going to be autonomous for a while, we said, can we automate or bring autonomy to surgical planning? And that's where we started looking at how do we autonomously generate safe trajectories for needles that can curve around. That is coming now. Hopefully in a few years, we'll see small catheter-like needles that can actually navigate brain. There is already a group at, I think, UCL or Imperial, which have started few trials now. It's a fantastic needle, allows you to make really sharp curves. So it might be possible to avoid critical structures and still hit the targets. But it's extremely difficult to plan trajectories for those. Because the tool or the instrument tissue interactions that happen, you can't model them. It's quite difficult. So we can't manually plan the needle because we don't know what is going to be the curvature. Even if we knew curvature, we can still come up with when to rotate around and hit the target. So that's where we started saying that, okay, we'll take, I'll just skip those. We'll take multiple modalities of MR images, starting with MR angiography to segment the blood vessels. We take atlas-based segmentation. Fast Surfer is a free open source tool that gives us 95 structures. So we look at what do we want to make as critical. And in all of this work, we have considered ventricles as critical structures. And then we looked at tumor. We segment the tumor using state-of-the-art algorithms available part of the breast challenge. And that basically generates an environment where we have now tumor, which is our target. We have ventricles, which are what we want to avoid, and blood vessels, what we want to avoid. We trained a reinforcement learning framework on top of that to say, give me a trajectory that is completely safe or that avoids any interaction with any of the critical structures. So we ran this basically for this kind of needles that interact with as a bevel tip. When they enter into the tissue, they actually start curving. And you can rotate them to change the direction of curvature. We also had we started putting a constraint that the entry point on the skull should be within the region which is typically targeted for the burr holes. And so what we saw that this all allowed us to come up with, I'll just skip the final details, but it generates trajectory in 0.3 seconds. 300 milliseconds. If I take any of the existing sampling-based algorithm, which is what has been there, can take 2 minutes and still doesn't guarantee that it's going to come up with a solution. So reinforcement learning has given us an opportunity. Now I can actually plan this trajectory intraoperatively. If I already had pre-op plan, I do the intra pre-op registration and run the planning algorithm and get the trajectory in just blink of an eye. So this is something that would be, of course, this is not going to be helpful to expert surgeons. They can still do that quite fast. But who is just starting out their career? They can just validate the trajectory whether it's safe and good or not. They don't have to go through every slice and say, okay, this is where I can put the needle or not. That part is being already taken care by the algorithm. It ensures that it maintains safe distance from all the critical structures. It also, one of the parameters for the algorithm is how deep does it go into the tumor, because the quality of the sample depends on that as well. So we have put together all of these different aspects of planning, and that has again shown that we could generate safe trajectories. This is a finer detail of all the different algorithms we have trained. And we have seen that the time required with all the previously used traditional algorithms can go from 30 seconds to 2 minutes and no solution, compared to reinforcement learning gives a solution every single time with 100% success in 300 milliseconds. So this is something that's what has kind of helped us say we can do autonomous planning, at least if we can't do execution of it. And ultimate goal for me as an engineer and researcher would be that trajectory is generated, a robot goes and mounts the robot onto the patient's skull, does the insertion, takes the sample out. There is as little intervention as required from surgeons. Not to say that we don't need that, just to say that if we reach there, we bring in capabilities and augment what surgeons do the best. And this is what human and robot interactions are going to stay for a while. We are not going to be able to, for any task actually, robots are just going to help us get better at doing what we do. So, last slide in that. So what did we wanted to add now here is we said, okay, can we, oh, this is jumping. Did I click on something? Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. So we said, can we add more details to this planning algorithm? So we started adding fiber tracks. Can we say that I want to avoid the tracks originating from a certain region of the brain? So that becomes an obstacle now. And each of the algorithm is developed in such a way that you can actually choose what is the priority. In worst case, if I have to go through the ventricles, give me still a feasible trajectory. So this is still early phases, of course. We have to do a lot more work in order to translate this. Primary reason is actually we are still using multiple data sources, putting them together. We don't really have, we keep talking about AI doing fantastic job in medical imaging. Unfortunately, we still don't have a single algorithm that can actually segment all anatomical regions, tumor, and fiber tracks. So we still don't get, if I have a single patient data, all MR images, I still can't get this environment. I'm clubbing them together from different sources. That is one of the problems that what we want to solve next, is to make this feasible to use clinically, basically. Now I'll just quickly go through a couple of minutes what other things we do in the lab. So we work on ultrasound guided percutaneous interventions. That is where also we are looking at autonomy. So we have put together a large system over here. We have a 7-degree of freedom robot that has an ultrasound probe on it, that has Intel RealSense camera looking at the patient anatomy, localizing where the patient is, localizing what organ you want to target as well. So we have a statistical human model. We register that with the CT data, and then that tells, oh, you want to target liver, this is where you should be scanning. And so now robot actually goes and scans autonomously. While scanning, it finds the tumors, keeps a track of their locations, and then at the end, it goes and deploys the needle. So we are going to see a video. This is what we have built and attached onto the robot. So this is a small video. Oh, that didn't. Can you start the videos there? Yeah, thank you. The one on the right as well, along with it. There's another video on the right. The other video on the right, please. There's another video on the right-hand side with the mannequin. Usko bhi chalaiye, please. Yeah, that one, please. Yeah. So as you can see, it looks at the patient. It looks at where it has to scan. This is demonstrated fully autonomously. There is no, this is done by my MS student. right from localizing where the patient is under the camera to localizing where the organ is supposed to be, performing the scan, of course, done in phantoms. But our goal is to translate this eventually and say, can we have a patient on the stretcher being pulled into a operating room of, I don't know, 22nd century or whichever we want to call, and biopsy is done fully autonomously. Can we reach that? Of course, there are a lot more complexities. This is a homogeneous phantom, so we see the tumors. It's a homogeneous phantom. Needle behaves nicely. As soon as needle goes through the skin and enters into fat, it goes completely different trajectory. So still a lot of issues solved, but our goal was to put together a complete system. And that's what we have been able to do over here. So we evaluated this system again, accuracy of about 4 or 5 millimeters, good enough for liver. Measured the tumors are larger than that. So we should be able to target that. Also, as I said, cost is one of the factors we keep in mind. The robot that we are using costs 55 lakh rupees. So in parallel, we are developing our own robots so that when the translation phase comes in, we have a robot that doesn't break your pocket. Right? So it's something that has to be affordability, has to be brought in at every aspect. Finally, I'll just spend, as teleoperated robots. This is something that I used Da Vinci nearly a decade back during my PhD for research. It's being used actually in 35 universities as an open source platform. It's known as DVRK, Da Vinci Research Kit. I was trying to get that here. I kept trying and then hit a dead end, saying that because we did not have the first generation of Da Vinci, we are not able to get that here right now. And then I said, okay, the door is closed. If I want to do autonomy in surgical robotics, I need to have a robot at least. So that's when we decided to take the robots available in our lab and convert them into surgical robots. So what we did is we developed an extremely low cost master manipulation device. This costs 15,000 rupees, gives a 6 degrees of freedom, complete manipulation along with gripper control and endo-wrist control. Then we put surgical instruments. These are intuitive surgical instruments actually. At the end effector of the robot, we created our own interfaces to put them on KUKA IVA 7. And then we telemanipulate using 2 different devices. One of them is Geomagic Touch. That costs 1.5 to 2 lakh rupees, used to cost at least, and gives us the same functionality as a 15,000 rupee device now. And so we have now, we are still waiting for our decision on publication, but we're hoping to make this as a platform, as an open source platform for anybody who does not have, are not able to get DVRK. If they reach out to us, we should be able to provide them with all the design files, all the software components. They are going to be on GitHub anyways, and help them create a surgical robot out of any robot available in their labs. So this is making, we call it Aspire, accessible surgical robotics platform for research in training, skill evaluation, and autonomy. These are the 3 areas where we are looking at surgical robotics. And then those who don't have robots at all, we said we'll create a simulator. So you just take 30,000 rupee 2 devices, and you can still now do all the training and skill evaluation on a simulator. So we have a simulator that is again based on all open source tools. So this is the platform that we have built in order to open that door, at least to get into the surgical robotics research. All of this work was, of course, done with all my graduate students and some undergraduates, project staffs, and I work with, for the neurosurgery project, I was working with Dr. Dilip Panikkar at Aster Med City, and it was funded by BIRAC, SERB, and Intuitive Surgical. So thank you all very much, and I would be happy to take any questions or if you have.
Thank you so much, Nirav, for coming here. In fact, it's very interesting how I found Nirav. I thought I'll retire from neurosurgery about 1.5 years back, till I pulled me here. I actually hung my boots and I had a lot of ideas. So I wanted to do a completely automated craniotomy where the neurosurgeon watches and the robot does. I figured out the components required and I realized they're already there in the market, but they have not been brought together. So I was looking who are the people doing here. Then I saw Nirav's name. that he worked in Johns Hopkins in medical robotics and he's in IIT Chennai. So about a year and a half back, I went and met him there. And he was pleasantly surprised. He said, "Sir, you are the first doctor who's coming to us. Otherwise, we are the ones who are running to doctors and try to find how we can put robotics into medical field." So ever since I've been in touch with him, and hopefully we'll bring it to culmination in this institute. Then things started falling in place. I met people like him, there are a few more, and then IPS here to support, and we have a fantastic infrastructure. And we'll take it forward. And I thank him for coming, because when I had the opportunity, I thought he should be here in this meet where similar-minded people are coming. So thank you so much.
Thank you both for having me here. It's wonderful to be here. And I think I got chance to meet Dr. Ramdas, and I got to meet him during the last sign-in in Hyderabad. So as I said, typically we run to catch surgeons' time. I was pleasantly surprised when he walked and said, "I'm a neurosurgeon, I want to discuss something." But again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Nirav, we have two problems for you.
Sure.
Number one, we generally have a craniotomy on a headrest. I mean, it's a 3-point headrest. It was designed very robust because, earlier we used to use something which we used to put our body weight on to put a hole in the skull. These days we have high precision drills, which we don't need to put that much weight. So we've got something called the Tremano Fortis, which can literally hold up a head. 80 kg can hold up 80 kg. Now with our intraop CT, we have an intraop 192 slice CT, which I will be happy to show you sometime. What we want is, we want a head holder made out of carbon fiber, which means it has to be compatible with our intraop CT, with fiducials in the head holder.
Sure.
So we are working on it. We have a company here from Gujarat who can manufacture. And the missing point is that if I have the Tremano Fortis, I have to have an extension of the Tremano Fortis. The Tremano Fortis comes from the side. Generally, I have the head holder from the bottom, and it prevents me to sit down comfortably. I have to sit with my hands off. Now we are taking it from the side, and the Tremano, with the Fortis, I can change my head position if I want, even during craniotomy. So one or two of them, if I can have a stable platform on carbon fiber with the fiducials in it. Now your part comes in when, how do we register it with my intraop CT, so that the moment the scan is taken, the VR that I generate out of that is already registered to my patient?
Great question. So this is something that we are actually trying right now, is to augment the CT volume or MR volume onto the patient's anatomy, right? And we'll discuss a bit more in depth, but there is one challenge that is still there. Even if I go through entire academic literature, majority of the work that is being done right now is still people are moving with a joystick and aligning it manually.
Yeah. So that's what we are doing right
this
now.
This is where in clinical use it is.
Yeah.
The problem of solving that to do autonomous registration, automated registration,
Yeah.
is something that depends on two aspects. One is how open the AR headset is.
Yeah.
So I have Quest Pro, it's completely closed.
Yeah.
Apple Vision Pro is a bit more open.
Yeah.
There's a company based in Mysore. They are quite open. I just met actually last week.
These guys are making a headset.
Okay.
So we are working with Apple Vision Pro. These guys are making a headset which will be open source and we can use it. That shouldn't be a problem. Mediviz, a company in United States, has already done it. And Vladimir, who was supposed to come here from from Russia, that guy has also done it. Now that's a very cheap software. Just like Mediviz, they are registering it. So we will tell you how to do that, but then we would like to collaborate with you on this front. That is number one. Number two, we have designed with Franca Amica, like KUKA and Universal Robot Arm. We have the Franca Amica Panda. This is something that I I designed with Franca Emika Panda, we designed a robotic endoscopic holder,
Okay.
which is back drivable. And plus, once you want, it's back drivable. Plus, it holds the endoscope weight and it doesn't collapse. As soon as I
It has
put the release
gravitational
button,
acceleration, yes.
it has anti-gravity function, so it doesn't collapse. It stays there and floats there. I can, the only thing we have to program it is right now, we're not able to program it to pivot because endoscopes, we realized we have X, Y, Z movement, but the endoscopes cannot. Charlie is one of the greatest endoscopic surgeons in the world. He will tell you, you cannot move around with the endoscope. You will hit structures inside. So you need to pivot. This is something we've not been able to
We
do.
can definitely help there actually. So if Franca, if you're bought with all the APIs.
Yeah. We have the Franca with the research development, research and
then
development.
it's doable.
So we have that.
Sure.
We've been working. We worked with Escolab to develop a holder for the endoscope, and we've done some good work with it. The only thing is we are unable to pivot.
So if you see, I mean, I don't have the slide here, but if you see for the laparoscopic surgery robot that we have done, it actually pivots at the RCM point or the trocar point.
Yeah. So this is what we need to do.
So we can discuss and
Yeah. So we have this company, and now we have Anupam. Anupam is a lady from, she's from Eindhoven.
Yeah.
You met her.
We have discussed at length a lot of things. Yeah.
So she has a drilling robot, a milling robot. Basically, you plan something. If you want to do a mastoidectomy, you plan the mastoidectomy and you segmentate that on the scan. The robot can just drill it. So that she already has. And we can use it for many, many other things as well. So what we will do is we will have a group and we will sit down. And I would like, Charlie has done some really fantastic work in the field of minimally invasive, and he's done some really disruptive work. So much so that people hate him because, whenever somebody does completely disruptive work, people don't believe it first because it's not reproducible. Most of these top-end neurosurgeons who are doing stuff, it's not reproducible. It's like a Formula One guy racing at 400 kilometers an hour. A car driver thinking, I can go at 100, but 400 is impossible. And they say, this guy's lying. Okay. So that's what happens to people like Charlie. And Charlie's got some fantastic ideas, but I'm sure Charlie is tired of people telling him, calling him, what he says is not correct. But I understand Charlie, and we've been great friends, and we've been on that receiving end for many years. So he's got some ideas which are phenomenal. Only thing is we need support from engineers, with AI, with robotics, with augmented reality and stuff like that. Even the endoscope, it's a primitive thing right now. We are using 3D endoscope right now. We need 3D endoscopes that can bend. The Olympus Endo Eye is there, but we need endoscopes that can bend, at least 15 degrees would be great. And robotic catheter instruments which can bend. So all this we are working on. The only thing is we have a few industrial partners, but we don't know how to, get it all together. So people like Vishal and Nirav, you'll help us to do that.
Sure.
And we can go a long way forward. That's exactly why I brought this conference together.
No, it's absolutely true. That robot is never getting into an OR if I was not standing here, if I was not talking to whole, neurosurgeon fraternity. There is no way. This is something that, and I think we know something. We don't know most of it actually.
Yeah. No, it's all bits and pieces of information we all know.
Yes.
We just have to bring it
we have
together.
to put it together in order to have something that's used in OR someday.
Yeah, yes. Charlie.
Oh, well, Nirav, a great presentation. Thank you very much. Sadly, I'm 67 years old now, and I've had great ideas since I was a young man. And I've been beaten down. That previous talk that said, please don't let people call you an idiot. Just keep at it if you've got a great idea. Well, I've been told I'm an idiot so many times that I've just now sort of lost my passion almost. But yes, Hype is right. Every time we do an operation, we come up with some idea that could make the operation safer and better. If you just take endoscopy for a starter, I've always thought that a pick on a stick or a camera at the end of some sort of arm, mechanical arm, would be a whole lot better than a rigid endoscope, because it'll allow us to then navigate the ventricles and navigate the different spaces. And again, he's absolutely right. You can't pivot an endoscope. That's the trouble, because you can't see what's behind you. So when you put an endoscope into the brain, you pass a very important blood vessel or a very important nerve, and then you go, well, I want to look over there. But if you pivot and look over there, then you're going to tear the things that you can't see behind you. So you need some system where the endoscope, if it's going to be rigid, has memory, so you can navigate it, or that it's flexible and it doesn't damage anything, that when you look over here. And there's all these fantastic ideas that we have every time we do an operation, but the trouble is to coordinate the engineer with the neurosurgeon is, I found impossible. I found it impossible. I'm a consultant for a German company called Escalab. I've been a consultant with them for 40 years now. And the trouble with Escalab is politics comes into it. So I could have told Ipe, he didn't ask me, but I could have told him that he was going to get that exact response from Zeiss, because the Germans will only listen to the Germans. And so we've sat in rooms with Escalab for years telling them about these great ideas. And they go, yes, great ideas. But unless the German neurosurgeon agrees with it, they won't build that product. So Zeiss, he went to Zeiss with a great idea, but Zeiss went to their doctors, and they're not as smart as Ipe, nor are they as innovative. So they're very constrained in their thinking, and they came up with this ridiculous endoscope that they placed with the microscope. I'm sure Ipe didn't have that idea. You had a much better idea, but they completely ignored you. And so I'm really sorry to say this, Neerav, but I've been so disillusioned with this whole biomechanical collaboration between the end user, i.e. the doctor, and the engineers. It just hasn't worked. I've got this other great idea. It's a great idea, and I've had it for years. And every time someone of goodwill says, I'm going to put you in touch with an engineer, well, the engineer comes and listens to me, and we work for a little while, but then the whole thing fizzles out. I don't know why, but fizzles out. Either because it's not commercially viable, or there's politics that enters it, or jealousies that enter it, or stealing ideas. It's so sad that young minds like you and young minds like Ipe, they very rarely get together and come up with a fantastic innovation. Something stops it from happening.
No, I agree with you, and this is something that we are trying to work towards, is finding a solution, because there's no other way. I can build a fantastic robot that does everything in my lab. What's its use? If I can't really,
The trouble is, Neerav, you need money. So when you need money, you have to get investors. Investors then have their own ideas, and then they put their then they interrupt.
And I'm an academic, and I don't really have, of course, if somebody wants to go that route, I completely agree with you. But academics are a bit less bound to money as of now. Of course, if I was, going to start a company, then all of those things would be there. But let's hope that we find solutions somehow on this journey.
Well, the fact that you're here talking is very good, and but please somehow make it work.
Yes,
somehow.
We'll try.
You've got to watch Ipe operate. You've got to be in the operating room watching him, and as he's coming up with ideas, you've got to be writing them down, and then you've got to, I don't know, somehow take that forward, and don't pollute it. Don't pollute it with money. Don't pollute it with commercialization. Don't pollute it with jealousies. Don't pollute it with, this somehow. A young, great mind like yours has to come together with a young, great mind like Ipe's and come up with a product.
We'll try our best to do that. Thank you. Okay.
Charlie, you are, you're not in the past tense. That's one thing you have to understand. I mean, I know how much ever disillusioned you are. Charlie is still highly respected and one of the best in when it comes to endoscopic surgery. His ideas are, crazy. What he thinks and what he plans when he plans his surgeries, 95% of the people wouldn't believe him. I've got many guys telling me that, oh, what Charlie says is crap. No, that's because they don't understand. He's such an amazing guy. Okay, a lot of guys in the WFNS wouldn't have him in the meetings because they cannot be shining when Charlie shows his crazy cases. Okay, so that's one thing. We are proud to have Charlie with us, and we understand what he's doing. Tomorrow we're operating together. So, I mean, any of you neurosurgeons here, we'd have a chance to have Charlie in our theater and operate with whatever facilities that we have. Again, this whole meeting, the whole purpose of this meeting was to bring all these components together. Now we have this Damages from Gujarat. Okay, we have Anupam. Okay, we have Rising Solutions AI. We have One Immersive Virtual Reality. Okay, we have a lot of neurosurgeons. We have Kazadi, we have Bill, and we have all these guys coming together to produce something that is a paradigm shift from what is the present. Okay, so I think this is something that even if my conferences don't run, this one day, I'm going to keep it every 1 year. And I'm going to see what it took us to. What are the innovations that we finally made? And what are the innovations in that 1 year that we have ideas on? And Vishal has clearly asked us that whatever innovations starting from ideas to stage 9, where we already have a prototype. We have many prototypes now. All this we can showcase. And we would want you in the team. Sure. Okay. We would really want you in the team. We would start discussion threads together and we'll see where it leads to. Okay. Right.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Professor. It's a wonderful thing which you have spoken. And rather, when I see Dr. Ramdas as a colonel and calibrating keratomy into robotics and integrating with such predated images, I was going through a Medicuri thought. What is fear? Fear is lack of information. And that is where we make a mistake. We rapture it and then we realize. And that is what I said. When you say about AR, I said, take all the images first, put it in virtual reality, and let the surgeon and especially the fellows go and make a mistake. And they rapture and make a terrible mistake, what he says, what you call Charlie. And then learn from that mistake because there is no patient inside. You have an image. And from there, you can explore various ways and pathways by which the entire outcome of surgery will be, I say, 180 degree shift. And what we need is images and real-time operation without a surgeon. I've seen dental surgeons have been trained with Oculus design. They've been doing wonderful RCT. And there is no patient, but there is a patient. You are mad, but you are not mad. And see, just 1 minute, I'll take 1 minute time. You rupture aneurysm, you get afraid, right? Because you don't know what to do at that time. There's a trauma inside. You try to recollect it. But if everything you know before surgery and you do rupture and IP says this is the way you correct, and then whole image of the surgery, you do it 3 times performance, and when you do in the OT, you come out with a new idea, and that is nowhere else. And that can be done with the integration of this person, this person, this person, this person, and more likely these 2 people, I think, can change the entire TBI surgeries. They say that Lucknow bought this trauma flap. I said trauma flap is a 1905 theory. Now you have to work in 2026, which is proceeding to 2030. We don't need this trauma flap. We not need some bare hole surgeries where there is minimal deficits. I tell you why. Because I have worked with almost all type of deficits you create. And I tell you, it's a trauma for me to recover all the patients you give me. So by operating his style of method, working, cooling off, cleaning of the brain, integrating all this system and calibrating it with robots, I tell you, and
Being yourself also robot. Because when you work with artificial intelligence, you also become like a non-emotional thinker. You do like a robot, you feel like a robot, and when you create a robot, the world is changed. This is what we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Now we have Mrs. Anupam Nayak to speak on precision robotics. Welcome, ma'am. Thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Dr. Ipa, for this opportunity to be here and present our work. Today, I'm going to tell you a brief journey of mine last 8 years in an adventure that I started on in order to change some things, especially give surgeons the much needed mechanical hands and planning tools that they need in order to change lives. So what you see in the picture here is an attempt at that. That's basically the robot that's standing in our office. And today I'm going to explain to you how we came about it, what it does, how it is built as a modular scalable platform, not only for skull base and neurosurgery, but in the future, it can also do more types of surgeries, given the fact that it's programmable. You can put multiple end effectors on it in order to achieve any targets that you need. Okay. Yeah. So just a brief introduction where we come from. So Eindhoven is a city 130 kilometers south of Amsterdam. Eindhoven is where Philips started, and Eindhoven is well known as the smartest region in the world, has the highest number of patents. And although people talk about patents and think about copyrights or copylefts that I heard today, I just want to let you know the reason why this has happened is because of open innovation and collaboration. Each one respects the ideas of others. There are joint inventions, and very well, these inventions are brought commercially to market. That's how you see the success of Philips. The machine that you see over there is one of the most complex built machines by man in this world. It costs $350 million a piece. It's a machine that's called semiconductor lithography machine. So this basically makes 95% of all the chips in the world. Or I should say they are in my backyard. So that's where we work in precision engineering and working with especially brilliant partners which also work in semiconductor lithography. I will just deviate a bit to give you a bit of background on myself. I'm an electronics engineer. I've studied in Mumbai. I was part of the team at AT&T Bell Laboratories in the United States. That was my first job. I later moved to the Netherlands, worked with Philips Semiconductors, was part of the team that designed the first Bluetooth chip in the world, the first flat televisions, first time shift recording. And it was a brilliant time in Eindhoven learning that. But what motivated me really to quit all those wonderful things that I was doing and start my own company was to bring all these technologies into the operating room where they are needed the most, and especially surgical robotics. So that's where we think we'll make a difference. I've just briefed, and this is last few days, many surgeons have come up also with all the struggles that they're having in doing the surgery, in the precision that they want to achieve, in terms of safety that they want to offer to the patients, and consistency in surgery, ability to do that repeatedly with a given quality. And how do you measure that? So in order to address all these challenges, and also the fact that 1 in 10 patients don't have access to the super skilled surgeons that we see in this room, we decided to create these machines in order to assist these surgeons in order to do those surgeries. So although I have autonomous, semi-autonomous, master-slave systems, very important is that the surgeon is in the loop and he decides which part of the surgery should be autonomous, which should be semi-autonomous, and what he wants to do master-slave. This is currently not available in the market. So generally you have these console type devices or you have the other extremes. But what we provide is the ability to be flexible and do that. So this is a brief overview of our system. I'll give you an example. Left is Vesalius, a surgical planning software. Basically, we take a CT scan, identify critical structures. We have algorithms which can do that within 30 minutes and generate a surgical plan what the surgeon needs. The robot basically is fed that plan and basically it executes. The robot has 3 brains. One is the brain that processes these CT scans and converts into plans. The second brain sits in the cart of the robot, which basically controls the robot, provides real-time visualization, feedback, safety, retract, resume procedures, etc. And the third brain basically monitors the entire system. As an engineer, it's very important to understand that you have to have systems engineering in mind in order to design this. You cannot just say, I'll do the electronics, I'll do the software, I'll do mechanics, and I'll just put something together in my lab and a product will come out of that. That's never going to happen. So right from day one, this is what we focused on. The video doesn't play. Yes. So what you see over here is a brief clip on how structures are segmented. I'm giving an example of a skull base, but this can be done anywhere in the anatomy. You can do it in a fully automatic way or a semi-automatic way where a surgeon places the seat points to identify the structures. And you can also choose which of the structures you want for that particular surgery that you have planned. End result is a 3D model, personalized plan of the patient, and then you can decide how you would like to proceed with the surgery. This example that we show here is for identifying the round window and going towards a cochlear implant. We can do other types of applications also, but I was told to keep my talk for 15 minutes, so I'm going to show this. Next, just an example of the robot. I will not show cadaver drills today, so mostly in our lab. So what you see here is a very dexterous instrument. It's a 5 degree of freedom, completely designed in-house. The motors, drives, everything come from around 150 suppliers that we have around the world. We have built a very good ecosystem, and every small thing in the robot is controllable. So right from the motor modules, the simulating software that we write on it, we use an operating system, the BlackBerry operating system. Many of you have seen it in the mobile, but it has been developed also for robotics. So every aspect is developed in-house, because without that, you cannot achieve the sub-millimeter precision that's needed in neurosurgery. I also would like to highlight one more feasibility project that we did. Again, I'm showing on a phantom in our lab. This is for placing pedicle screws on spine. So it requires the same amount of accuracy and precision that's needed in the skull base. This is, I especially highlight this here because it's, we won, it's about 12 crore project together with CMC Bello, IIT Chennai, and our startup in Netherlands, together with the hospital in the Netherlands, where we designed and built this over a period of 3 years. The previous robot demos that you saw, that was a project of around 22 crores that was done together. So we won the grant, and that was one from the Dutch government, and it was executed together with hospitals in the Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, and Belgium. So we have a mix of private investors as well as government grants which are helping us to take this forward. So when I came to India, I have to mention Dr. Sampath was the one at World Skull Base Center who first asked me to come and teach. And that's where I met Dr. Ipo also. So one of the things that we realized that doing these things in university labs doesn't provide the needed acceleration that you need in order to get the idea of a surgeon to market. So what's needed is to build an infrastructure which is capable of all the standards designed for manufacturing and patient safety standards, etc. Why? Because otherwise, later, sometime the surgeon can be held responsible for choosing a faulty technology which he didn't evaluate well. And we never want to do that. We never want that the surgeon is held liable and responsible for that. So right from beginning, whether it's a grant in India or Netherlands or private investments, what we have done is really taken the time to build something well. What you see over here, today I'm going to be a bit open. I'm going to show you how the robot is a system of systems. So what you see is the hardware, the software that's used, all the different parts. And I will also highlight on all the different components that we do. Why this is important? Because sometimes people don't look at how the thing was built. It was built with a lot of information from a lot of surgeons around the world. It's a machine that has to work with the same way. I would like Dr. Iper to be happy with it, my Danish surgeon to be happy with it, my German surgeon to be happy with it. And for me, surgeons are artists. As an engineer, when I stand and observe whether it's a 4-hour cochlear implant surgery or an 18-hour surgery with Iper, I stand and observe how they are doing their techniques and the skills that they have learned, maybe even from the same master, how it's adopted and how that robot will adapt to what they want and how they can program it so that we can achieve the needed results. So that's the flexibility that we have built in this. And just as a human body, which is mechanics and brains and thoughts and ideas, you can do that same with a robot. You give it a certain capability, you put some restrictions, what you can do and not. And everything else on the right side, you see software, software, software. Everything controllable, right from moving those wheels down there to the stand which is looking at you, to really real-time visualization, less than 0.3 milliseconds of response time to take the robot out in case of emergency. All these small things are built in by choosing every component in the system very well. Also very important, we didn't do it alone. We did it with a large team of partners, and this is our philosophy in which we choose our partners. Whether it's clinical, whether it's for manufacturing, this is what we do. We define value chains. When I come to Iper, it is last year, May, that I came. I met him in 2019, so it took me a few years to come and see what he does. But even then, I didn't immediately say yes, because I need to know what he actually wants. And out of those brilliant ideas that he has, what are actually feasible given the technologies in the world, and how are we going to make that happen, whether it's manufacturing or software. So if you look, there is some focus on what is the clock speed of things, technologies evolving. In 2019, you would not have AR, VR at the thing that it was then. So you would be a leap ahead of things, and you would be struggling to get that into the world. So identifying that, seeing which are the capital intensive areas. Now you want to do carbon fiber. So I come from Eindhoven, where carbon fiber is next door, built into medical devices left and right. So instead of sitting there and doing it, I have personally now taken it upon me. I'm going to start a company here. I'm busy with my lawyers and accountants figuring out what to do. I have a team which has worked with me both here and in the Netherlands, who are going to join hands. And I'm going to sit here, start the company, and locally make things, designs, and see whether I need to get in my partners from the Netherlands or meet all the new partners that you have told us to meet in order to make it over here. And I'm going to do each of that. And why this is important? Because if you don't choose such a strategy and you sit telling Eindhoven is the best, Netherlands is the best, nothing is going to happen, where the surgeons who are innovating are sitting somewhere else in the world. So you need to move. Even if you're the best, move, learn and relearn and just get it done. That's very important. Also, how we build in is from these partners and our systems, we define which are the most important critical quality parameters for the surgeons and for us. And from there, very early on, we don't sacrifice. Iterative requirements, testing again and again. Is this really what you want? Are these numbers feasible for reliability, safety? So this is where we get in. That also highlights step number 3. So define the measurement and traceability plans. And the last one is to involve our suppliers. So I don't wait, go with a nice thing saying, I'm going to approve you as a supplier or a manufacturer. It's something that we jointly do together so that the technology evolves. What you see over here is I'm going to show you the internals. So this is the robot. This is the robot, and each of the modules you can see over there. The parts carefully put together, assembled. So these are components from around the world picked. And why? From the semiconductor equipment that you saw, that burns silicon wafers at nanometer level. Because that's how you want. You want your chips smaller and smaller and smaller, and your mobile phones faster and faster and faster. So that's the same principle that we have used in choosing our drives, gears, ball bearings, nuts, screws, bolts, electronics, everything. So all the rest of the assembly process, if you're interested, you need to sign an NDA with me, but it's fun. It was fun building everything from scratch. What you also see here, I've just highlighted some things, the number of components and the number of measured specifications. Why this is important? Because without that, I cannot come and tell if, for example, I can go sub-millimeter in this area and for sure I'll be safe and reliable and I can repeat it. If you do 100 times, the robot will 100 times do that same thing again and again. And I can only do that by following this. So what we do, we have designed and manufactured parts. We have about 180 and the number of measured specifications on that is 1100. That's really huge if you compare to the other surgical robots in the world. So sub-assemblies, we have 90. So what are sub-assemblies? You take standard components, you decide how you want to customize them into your system, and those are 90 of them. 105 measured specifications for that. Purchased parts are 210 with 20 to 20 specifications. Signal traced is very important. 200 signals are traced at 2 kilohertz each. And why do we do that? Because you want a response time. If there is an emergency, that machine should stop the same way that a human hand stops immediately. And you want to be able to really either get the machine to resume the surgery or you can do it yourself. And this cannot be done if I don't provide tracing of signals down to the point where you have to tell things how to behave and stop. Very important, the regulatory journey. And why this is important? Because everything has to be built in with care. So first thing what we did was I just stopped my engineers from working on the product. So mechanical engineers really want to do mechanics and this. So I said, just stop. You all are going to write how you're going to do things, how you're going to build the process. And we did not copy it from someone else. I come from Philips. I could have easily carried my Bible from my past life into my future. But we sat and we made them write everything, how you're going to cook this time. And why we did that? Because then you don't need to train them because they wrote it. And we reviewed this with all the notified bodies in the United States, DECRA with Europe, because EU MDR is a mammoth of its own. You really need to rethink the way you want to structure your processes, not only when you're developing manufacturing, but also post-market vigilance, everything. So what we did is, I love state diagrams. I studied at MIT. I did my master's there at MIT and Harvard. And I was part of the System Dynamics Club. I'm still. So anything you tell, first I'll draw flowcharts and diagrams and show how everything is connected and how everybody should work with those connections. So what you see here is different processes that we follow, different layers, what our quality policy is, and how that is woven into everything that we do. So that's very important because otherwise you get a system which is standing there and doing something, but later it will limp and fall at some point of time. Very important is also the pathway from product development, clinical, regulatory, and commercial. So TRLs is technology readiness level. So at TRL 1, someone sits and dreams about, I want to do something, and TRL 9, 10 and all are where you have something which is commercial ready and out to be. Very important is to handhold surgeons right from TRL 1. So like when IPA has an idea for a carbon fiber system, go over there and see what it takes for him to see that a product is sitting under the CT scanner on his patient doing the work. And all the regulatory things, the blue blocks you see over there, what you need to pass, so that tomorrow everybody knows that IPA has a safe system with him in order to do the surgeries that he's doing. And it has been built according to a standard medical procedure, medical device development procedure. I have also shown some examples. You can see things crawling up the chart. So this is like the software is crawling at a faster pace. The robot is taking its own time because the hardware takes time to do, the iterations take longer to do. So you have to understand why these things are put in place, why they take time, why it took me 6 years to do this, and why our team of 47 is continuously busy with seeing that this works flawlessly and in a iterative way so that the surgeons get what they want. I'm going to show you some videos. I cannot show all without NDA because we have not launched the product out. So some fun stuff that we do in our lab. We designed new burrs. You can see that. So basically we went to a shop which cuts aluminum. We looked at all the bits and bytes they have to make the 350 million machine. We took cadaver bones and also bones from the spine, hip, knee. We put them together and we started drilling, measuring thermal effects. And I was looking, why do you want to shave bone? So I designed a new burr which has different flute sizes. You can just scoop bone out instead of doing. So many such things came in. You can also see with the robot, the dexterity of the robot. I saw in surgeries that the surgeon is busy moving the patient table sometimes in order to reach the angles and the skull base, which are very difficult. And we didn't want that. We said, you sit where you are, let the patient sleep where he is, this thing will move. So you can see the angles. These are sometimes really not feasible in a given position. And especially for long surgeries, it's next to impossible to expect a surgeon to sit there with that handheld drill for 18 hours doing the same kind of procedure that he wants. And this is not only drill, I'll talk about other effectors too. In the middle video, you see a different technique. So instead of shaving, what I do is I just go straight in and I helically clean out and open the space for a schwannoma, for example. So the thing is the ability of the robot to do what the surgeon does, because that gives him the comfort. It can do what I do and it is doing it well. And then we show the robotic way where we say, okay, now it's doing what you do, but would you like it to do this way? For example, 4-hour drilling procedure, we have managed to optimize it to under 8 minutes. And we are studying what's the effect of it. So things like this, I think, will make a lot of difference in the duration of the surgery, the amount of anesthesia a patient has to be under. There will be benefits in many ways, not only precision and robotics. So we look at holistically the end-to-end benefits that a machine can bring in an operating room. This is a fun video. So this is a new burr we recently designed with a semiconductor firm. So I think it plays again. I hope you all notice that what it does. Please could you play this video for me? So I'm trying to not burst a balloon, because many times I've been asked, what if you go near the dura with the autonomous robot? So we said it will graze, it will and stop, because it knows it has touched. And that's the beautiful burr that we have. You can see the balloon doesn't burst in the first go. You see that it doesn't. And I know when that resistance comes, my robot has a beautiful force sensor at the other end. I know that I have to stop. Maybe the surgeon doesn't, but sometimes I know I have to stop. So these are small things. Took us a lot of time as engineers to think what to do, go back to the machining labs, get it done. But I don't want to sit in Eindhoven and do it alone there anymore. I mean, alone or with my team. I will be doing it here and speaking with lots of surgeons here, trying to see get their resident surgeons in the loop. Just like in the Netherlands, they do their PhDs with us. So they do a PhD, a resident surgeon can do a PhD on a new concept and get that concept from a certain stage in a very nice way, the TRLs that I've shown to the labs. And then in a period of 1 or 2 years, you have what you want sitting over there with your patient. And that's the clock speed that I want to achieve in these kind of things. And it won't happen sitting there. So we're doing our best to see what we can do. This is a brief overview of all the cadaver labs in Belgium and Netherlands, well equipped. And I want to tell you that the most impressive OR I have seen is the one from EP. So that's where the CT scan and everything is in one. I've seen hybrid ORs with all kinds of other scanners, but not such a one. It's beautiful. So congrats for that. And I keep showing it when I show my slides over there. It's not over here because you all know it, but it's one of the most beautiful ones. This drill, what you see is the one what I described on different techniques that goes in and. Okay, so coming to our ecosystem, we don't do it alone. We never wanted to do it alone. So different clinical sites and surgeons, we have collaborated with our pioneers in surgery. We have investors, family investments. I started the company with my own funds. Seepa knows that very well. I got 2 family investments in. Our employees, our investors, I have the Dutch government and some good grants from India and Europe and NL. We have partners. We partner with a lot of universities, even the one from Nirav. That's where we got the 12 crore grant to work with HDIC, CMC Vellore, and the hospitals and all from our side. And that was for the spine drilling that you saw. That was the grant we got. We have 8 granted patents, 3 are pending, more to come. 2 products, what you saw, they are busy. We are busy with training surgeons on that and going for regulatory approvals. Tier 1, we have 4 in NL for manufacturing, Tier 1 manufacturers. This is basically for aluminum and shaping the frames of the robot, doing the electronics, the control box, and also some small effectors around that. And I'm going to do something to bring that to India. That's my plan for the coming period. Why? It's not only about costs, it's about how to even innovate further with the surgeons over here on how those modules should be. A robot arm is not just an arm. It is having a lot of intelligence in the components that we put. And the thing is, how do you want to modulate that? Which kind of applications will really make a difference here? And that we want to build in step by step by choosing all these manufacturing partners. Just an overview of patents. So some of you may like it, some not, but I have to do this because otherwise what happens, I put a robot in the market and somebody else says, hey, you have infringed on mine, get it off. And all the investments that we have made are pointless. So till now we have raised around 95 crores. And I'm looking forward for my next 95 crores to get the products out in the market. The patents are, you can see, are mostly in the robot modules, in the augmented reality simulations for pre-surgical planning. We also have steerable catheters with force sensors, which give feedback not only for catheters, but also for devices such as implants. So these are various things that we have been busy with. And this is something which has been the dream of Deepak. So the first time I met him in 2019 and also last year when I was at his lab, he really wants to bring in all these different technologies in a very integrated way into the operating room. So then they are not standalone. It's not that AR, VR is doing its thing and data is somewhere else and the robots are on their own, whether it's Asculap or for microsurgery or for drilling, that they're not, just like in and out, in and out. It's a vision of connecting all the things together in order to provide the best solution for the patient. It's not about those individual products which are trying to prove that they can do things. So we hope to work with you to make this happen, and we hope to really have a laboratory. I just want to tell you to think also about it. So lab, which you showed us, does cadaver drilling, but go beyond that and set up such a lab with all the robots and components that you have, and involve the partners more by setting up joint initiatives with them. And that will really make a difference. And this takes a lot of money. So I want to give you an example. So MIT, the school where I studied, or King's College London, where I work with for some of these things, they have around 300 crores invested in a lab infrastructure, which has the ability to do all the things that we did. So like the regulatory approvals, notified bodies, different testing, cadavers are available. So this enables the surgeons and the engineers to very quickly take an idea from concept out. And if that infrastructure is not there, you have to wait to do something and then wait till a company is started and that company makes something and then comes to you. So we want to change that. We want to make that infrastructure possible at Krishna Medical, and enable that ecosystem that you work with the brilliant minds, be it any university, any medical schools, or different companies, but you bring them together in that laboratory to take this forward. So Ipa also introduced me to the other technical guys in the university, Jayant Pawar and the dean, etc. So last few days I have been attending classes, but I also took some time to catch up with them, and we'll see what we can do together going forward in a more concrete way. So that would be nice. So if you all are traveling to the Netherlands, this is a beautiful place to visit. That's our office. So do come by, and I hope to see you all there. And I hope to set up something here so beautiful that I can share with you as part of many million surgeries to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that wonderful session. Now I call Mr. Ajay Deshpande. Sorry.
For your nice presentation, but I have one comment. When we do surgery for elderly, we have facing that dura is really attached to the bone. So have you designed this when you are dealing with robot? Sticky dura to the bone.
Oh, you're looking if the dura is stuck to the bone.
Excellent. Same is from a professor from Egypt. And what he's asking is sometimes when the dura is stuck to the bone, when you do a craniotomy, it's a bit of an issue separating this dura from the bone. But when you're milling it off, you're really milling it off, it's not really a problem. What we have come up with is once we mill it and we make a small space between the dura and the bone, we use high pressure water or high pressure air to separate it out. This is something that we've been talking to. So sometimes instead of using dissectors, it's much better to use water, high pressure water. Yeah, elderly. Yes. You are absolutely right. So, but then when you have this precision drilling and then you have water dissection. So if you can introduce with a curved driver, you can introduce this into between the dura and the bone. And you can separate it. Most of the times you can, but I agree, sometimes it's difficult. Yes. What she says is this is a real problem. Yeah.
There is a solution. In fact, as I told you, I'm working on a concept of completely automated. There's one I'm sure you would be knowing. I don't remember the company. They incorporated a sensor at the tip of it. So like she changed the burr to make it safe so that even a balloon doesn't rupture. But in that technology, they put a sensor which detects the density of the tissue it is drilling. When the density changes, it stops. And the time it takes to stop is, I think, 1/3 or 1/5 of a second. So it stops. When the resistance changes, it stops. It doesn't drill.
We do the same.
You must be doing the
Yes,
same
do
thing.
yes.
Yeah. So, and they have tested it so many times, they won't rupture the dura.
But
So now this is another idea that I had with, now I have developed with this striker already. Again, I'm sure if any of the striker reps are here, they're going to, they're not going to be liking it. But, there is a drill which is called a reciprocating drill. A drill produces a drag force, and that's how it takes off tissue. But if you just produce a reciprocating drill, that is 1/8 of a circle, it moves this way. It'll do the same drilling, but if it touches something, if it touches a patty, cotton patty, or if it touches a vessel, it's not going to hurt it.
yes,
Okay. So this reciprocating drill was my idea about 10 years back when I looked at the CUSA and the jackhammer effect. We realized that, and this time I was in Seoul. In Korea, I tested out my reciprocating drill. I never patented it, so Stryker has the idea with them. But because it's open, I've been telling Indian companies I know exactly how it works. So it's my idea. So I've been telling them. So that way you can make a craniotomy without, drilling it out completely, without touching the dura, without actually creating any problem.
And even the piezoelectric things which we use, the CUSA, they've also come up with this technology because CUSA is alternating sonic energy. When the resistance changes, it stops.
I'll show you.
So,
the details of it.
I think the technology is there. How to use it, I think you guys have to tell us.
yes. When we hold such end effectors by the robot, we can program them for sensing these things and then get it in. That's what we do. So I've just shown maybe 1/10 of our work because given the time, but please take the time to meet me. I'm here today for the rest of the day and we'll see what we can do together. Thanks for your time and wish you all a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Now I call Mr. Ajit Deshpande to talk on artificial intelligence in neurosurgery. Please, sir.
Yeah, we can start, right, Dr. Cherian? Yeah, my name is Ajit Deshpande. I'm the founder, CEO of Rises Analytics. First of all, it's a big opportunity for me to be here along with so many neurosurgeons. And if you really track across the world how many surgeons joined in last 2 days, you'll find so much of concentration of these people. And I'm very thankful. And we've been working with Dr. Cherian as well as Dr. Vishal Rao for the productization and guidance. So primarily, we'll be talking on the data aspect. We are a data company. And this is not an easy one. Everybody knows we are not taking it lightly. The application of neurosurgery, AI, there are various aspects. I think some of these are covered, but definitely we should look into that, where the pre and post-operative care and during surgery, the staging and kind of prediction prognosis they're looking for. This is kind of stuff which is newly evolving. It's not yet evolved. You'll find so many videos, etc. But this kind of technology is not readily available. This need to be built. You can read on the top. There are 4 major topics: the planning aspect, the assistant aspect, and the care, and the last one is the research and training. So interestingly, the slide is not done by me. The slide is done by the ChatGPT. Okay, so that is a importance and how the technology is breaking the barriers. And we also exploring. We got some initial success in using this various language models by like Google Vision, Llama 2, and ChatGPT.
So all kind of model we try, what fits well, that is most important. But the rest of the stuff is purely automatically generated by ChatGPT. AI is definitely going in the specialized area. So your hospital or your university may be having few of them, all of them, or something might be missing. But importantly is not just the neurosurgery per se, but there is sub domains or sub departments of it also getting into this of use of AI and adoption of AI. So I think you all have the walkthrough of the very innovative and very advanced lab, the operation theaters here in Krishna, and multiple presentations on the various aspects like robotics, and that could be the visualization aspect of glasses, etc. But this is the overall value chain, what we have seen, and every aspect generates some kind of data. And that's where the artificial intelligence, deep learning, Gen AI comes in picture. There are three major aspects here of analysis of data. The primarily what is getting a little bit matured and adopted is the use of diagnostic imaging as the primary tool to feed into this system, so which assess the surgeons. And that is primarily to do with the pre-surgery MRIs, then during surgery, you are using the CT scans and so forth. But then other type of data is coming is through the cameras, and as well as a lot of text data of the historic records from multiple patients and across the world. So that kind of data is still not publicly available, and that's where the building of LLM becomes a little bit of complexity. And this is, again, I will not go into details of this. This is self-explanatory. Would like to get more guidance from Dr. Cherian and in feedback from your side. But what you see is the various planning aspect and the pre-operative, the post-operative care, and also during the surgery, what exactly you need. So interestingly, when we talk to the multiple hospital, I'm talking to almost 10 different hospitals, and my company specializes in the diagnostics related to the mammography, CT scan, MRI, etc. But still, it's important from the artificial intelligence perspective, what exactly you are trying to find, what problem you are facing. That has to come from the surgeons and doctors. So we'll not put on you like, okay, you want to do something and this is a tool for you. That doesn't work like that. We have built the primitives for various purpose, like for one of the detection aspect on brain MRI. Now one hospital want to use it like a prognostic assessment, good tumor, bad tumor segregation, and they feel the accuracy of prognosis may go up. Currently, they are about 40% in the lingual carcinoma. They want to grow to 70%. For our people, technical people, it may be just the detection of the tumor morphology and tumor structure, and then segregate as per the medical inputs. We call it labeling in that sense. Yeah. So these are some of the AI models. Again, this slide, what it says is you have text data. In the US and other countries, there is a lot of voice data where they do the voice to text or speech to text, that kind of stuff. So that kind of data is available. And now for the surgery, you have the videos. It could be something like right from the low end CCTV cameras to very high end, the robotic surgery related cameras. So all this data is fed into, and obviously what Dr. Vishal Rao and these people are talking these days is about radiomics and genomics related data, and that all thing included, and then you can query the system towards the end, and you can ask certain questions, and that the system would respond. So these are all live systems where you can ask the question or get feedback. It cannot be just seen as a knowledge repository where you can open your black books of medical world and find something. It will be much more than that, and it completely trained. The models are trained, as per your experience and your hospital's data. So that is a trend in the industry, and that's what even we do. And so again, I'm taking a very different example where the kind of query systems are built for LLMs. So these kind of LLMs now, Google Vision. So all these various GenAI models, they are useful for a particular aspect. Some are very good in text, some very good at conversational AI, some very good at the text mining. So all the various aspects of data analysis. But some of the stuff I just picked up from the Google, where we can ask the question to the system. This is a simple example to feed in the chest X-ray, and we can ask the question whether there is I think pneumonia or opacity, and then it detects, yeah, that could be the possibility, yes. So this is a very simple representation, but it was much more complex when we implemented ourselves. And from the various aspects of what exactly the application of AI in this field, as I said, this is a simple model, input, output, and in central you see the three type of stuff where deep learning, machine learning, and now GenAI. GenAI also, they come with a pre-built models. Same thing is true for some of the deep learning models like convolutional neural networks and RNN, CNN, various type of models. We use transfer learning, we use various aspects of deep learning to train our models, and it has to be specifically driven for the purpose, what exactly the question you're trying to solve. And on this side, you see the data input, and other side, you see the output. Means this is, everything has to be played with the data. That's what the middle part, what we do. But the kind of question you want, this is just a list, a small list, but then you can ask many more questions, and that will be inbuilt in the system. So you can use as your day-to-day clinical tool. Some of the stuff, again, it's good to look at what building blocks they provide. This is a building blocks from NVIDIA. They have provided this Monai related stuff. And this GPUs, this is called many core paradigm. And in case of CPU, it is multi-core paradigm, where the models are offloaded and computed and given back. So this is a different kind of technology that we use at the back end. So for the end user, it doesn't really matter whether you are running on the CPU, GPU, or any kind of hardware. But for us, it becomes very important what kind of problem it is and how do we solve it. So they have given certain steps, and they claim that this is very useful for medical purpose. But some people may get deception that these kind of tools are readily available. So these tools are not available for the medical people. These are the building blocks where we will build the solutions for you. And again, since we have seen the lab and multiple presentations on use of robotics, the kind of cameras used, and the navigation systems, and also to larger extent during surgery, the 192 slice CT scan. So all this machine, they make an integral part of any operation theater now. If they are not there, obviously it will be there. Without that, you just cannot enter the operation theater. But then various aspects like robotic assistant, AI powered diagnostic tools, and the future of neurosurgery. So these are the three major verticals. Even we focus, and multiple companies are there who are focusing on that. I will just take one or two examples. And this slide is specifically, I just want to highlight that when I was talking to you in last 2 days, I realized that some of you definitely asked like how exactly the AI works. What I feel, there should be some training courses for the clinicians who are receptive, who want to understand how exactly we can use this tool. I was giving a very crude example where the ECG was taken very long back, putting your legs in the water. They see the vibrations, and now nobody cares, like, oh, that was a technique. It just like that. If you're not using AI in your day-to-day life or your day-to-day surgeries or treating the patients, you are missing something. So there are multiple trainings available. And obviously, I don't think this training are driven by AI, but there are definitely requests even coming to our company to build those products where like Dr. Cherian is a neurosurgery coach. So can it be like a Cherian.ai who teaches, that kind of stuff? You feed in the data and you get the results back. He might be having his own intellectual property and his own way of teaching. But my point is there are multiple such courses available, especially for the doctors. For the doctors, they have designed these courses. And just to come to the other point, my company, we focus on building this clinical decision support, where we primarily till now worked on the lot of work on the diagnostic imaging and deep learning aspect of it. And now a lot of breakthrough we got in GenAI and integrating those models in our solutions, various solutions we have built. And they are built on top of diagnostic imaging, true, but then you need the clinical history as well as you need the kind of medication administered or treatment done. So the treatment response assessment, staging, predictions, they become integral part of this clinical decision support. Somebody did ask me yesterday that if you don't know the clinical history, how come you can just say on the very simple example of chest X-ray, how can you say this person is having something like obesity? But if that person is smoker, then that may be considered as a normal. And if it is a non-smoker and still you find obesities, you might consider something severe, you might further investigation required. That is nothing but building this clinical decision support. It will not be that simplistic. Obviously, you keep your own intellectual property. And many of the hospital, when we deployed, we do not copy their data outside the boundary. So that's the way we work. And most of the clinicians, they are adopting because there are multiple conferences. Even we published about 75 research papers, 22 are on the WHO side. But these kind of papers we published mostly on the public health side. They are either on the lung ailment like COVID or tuberculosis or that kind of stuff, or a breast cancer related. So this neurosurgery is definitely a new area for us. And what they ask for, if you take some decision, why you took, can you explain that? And they ask like how much data is used. That's not the right question to ask. Explainable AI is basically how you arrive to the conclusion, whether I have used very minimal data to train my model or huge data to train my model. That's not the point. So clinicians need to understand this aspect very well, because that is completely getting into their day-to-day life, whether it is my product or somebody else's product. And when we train the models, LLMs or the large language models, in India, there was one large language model for medical built by a doctor in the AIMS, New Delhi. And a few more are coming up. It's a complex area. You need a lot of expertise to handle that stuff. But on the other side, just to give one perspective, many of these models, what we train it on the highly unsupervised learning or statistical learning, brute force learning with global data. So we pick up the huge data from the open sites and then augment with some of the cohort data. The second one is we bias those models with the help of semi-supervised label data. We label it and get it labeled. That's a cost, and it needs the clinicians' collaboration. And third one is more complex, where even lesser data is used, but it takes more time. And actually, it's kind of capturing the brain of that doctor into the system. So that is fully supervised model. So we use different models, and this is in data science world, it is called data science architecture. So we do have that details of data science architecture. And again, when you look at that, what building blocks are available to you. So definitely, again, I'm going back to the NVIDIA, what they provide, this detection, then the segmentation, classification, and creating medical imaging. It could be data generation also, synthetic data generation. So various aspects, and that's what the industry is using now. And in healthcare, you see, there are different steps we have given here, how exactly it works. This is called a data science architecture, what model fits in well. Not to overwhelm with the technical detail, but to tell the kind of procedures. These are more of industrial procedures. What you might just in few presentation you saw the industrial related products, right? Robotic automation related products. Similarly, in software also we follow these kind of workflows and automation. And when we say at very high level, I have just kept you very few slides as compared to many of the doctors do not really realize that the other stuff is generated by artificial intelligence, and they start arguing. So, but then I have to tell, no, this is not done by human being, this is done by AI. But whatever we do, it's compared with what doctor says and what AI says, and that's how we come to the accuracies. And that is the toughest part, and that is mandated by Radiology Society of North America and other forums. That becomes the toughest. Data science accuracy, we claim 98%. And that is the truth, because train and test, when we test it, the accuracy is great. But the clinician says this is useful, it is useful. It is not useful, not useful. As simple. And again, there are various research papers and things are going on with various universities. There you will find not many, but deep learning in neuroradiology. You'll find some good papers. Yeah. So again, this is some of the stuff we built, and as I said, when we were talking to the client and they want to know what is your capability there, and they said we want to do the prognostic assessment for lingual carcinoma. So I said no, we haven't worked on that, but we have worked on this. So they had a look at this maybe a couple of times and understood, yeah, this is what we want. This is correct. This is just one aspect. This is just one aspect. There could be multiple aspects where this is, I think, detection of the edema. And this kind of system you already saw in the Krishna OTs. There are various tool chain available. Now the AI is being integrated with augmented reality where it is superimposed on the actual cameras. So this becomes a complex part. Many of the companies are working on this, and we also working with Dr. Cherian to how do we integrate these two and make sense out of it during the surgeries and post-operative care also. And surgery planning, training, tool chains are available now. There could be some of the things are open source, some of the are very commercial and very high value product or very expensive product. And obviously when we are building something, what Dr. Cherian has given a challenge, and we are talking to Dr. Vishal Rao also. So whatever the current price of such software, it should be, can we build within a 50% of that price we should offer to the market. That's a target. It's a tough target because so much money is spent on the brains, our own people, and the infrastructure. It needs very high-end machines. And for the various planning aspect, neurosurgery, so you will find there is some kind of, the point here is there is a lot of raw data we play with and not truly the visualization aspect. We focus on the data analytics part, that is a back-end part, and the visualization part is left to your glasses or the kind of other companies who do good at the visualization aspect. So again, this is neurosurgery, AR, VR technologies, and the whole idea of integrating AI is basically very complex and precision driven, where you see the fighter pilots, they can land on the airstrip with no lights, but they still see the lights. So those lights are precisely marked or overlaid on the runway where they see it's like a virtual, right? But the precision is so high, it is small precision miss, it will just blast. So that kind of precision is required there. Again, some of the AR VR systems, and this is we have had a look at this product from Medivis, the excellent product they have built, and mostly related to the integration of navigation systems, data, and virtual assistant for the surgeons. So some more products like this are available and they serve different purpose. They are not same at all. They are coming from Taiwan, Hong Kong, or US, various people. It's not coming from one place. They're from different places. And the augmented reality related neurosurgery. It can be used for training purpose also. And I think in previous one of the speeches they talked about how do we train the doctors using this kind of technology where there is no patient but you still see and you can navigate. So all these like flight simulators, etc., they're well ahead of times. But then in medical world, it hasn't done in that well, not that well. Smart glasses, they are also coming up because they need to open the internals so that the all AI and this can be integrated in their systems. And I think some of the speaker definitely talked about this Meta Quest. Meta Quest is a cheaper version. Meta Quest Pro is expensive. Same thing is true Apple. I think Dr. Cherian already used Microsoft, one of our partner companies, they use Microsoft glasses. And some are available, some they don't work. We have to work with multiple such people, figure out which one is useful for this purpose. That is a challenging job. And I think, as I said, we worked on the raw data. This is just an MRI and this how it will, you'll see on the glasses, you can navigate inside. And again, as I said, we worked on the raw data. The visualization comes much later. And here also we can mark the areas and show you where exactly the tumor size, the structure, whatever you want. And just to summarize, the role of neurosurgery is definitely growing and ultimately improving patient outcome. I think all the surgeons thoroughly talked about it. How do I serve it better? How do I treat them better? You know, the treatment and response assessment, right from staging to the the post-surgical cares. And would like to stop here. And my background is in technology. From the people from India, they might be knowing I'm alumni of NIT Raipur. I'm the startup advisory there. And I worked almost 3 decades in the industry. I was in Bay Area, California for 5 years. And a lot of work actually I did in the financial technologies. But last 5 to 6 years, we're completely focusing on the medical aspects. And would like to stop here.
Thank you, sir. Now I call Mr. Maulik Patel to speak on minimal invasive surgery 3D mapping. Please, sir.
Hello. Yeah. I don't have a presentation to show. First of all, thank you for inviting us here. We just met Dr. Cherian a couple of weeks back, and I'll just give you a brief about what we do, first of all, and what I see an opportunity, what can be done here. So as a company, SLTL Group, we are into manufacturing of laser systems, predominantly for micromachining and industrial applications like laser marking, laser cutting, laser welding, and applications. We also have a vertical, which is the most interesting in this. I'll come to that later. We are also into medical device. We manufacture angioplasty stents, balloons, coarctation stents, which are used for pediatric cardiology as well. So fundamentally, working on minimalistic invasive surgeries. This is what we fundamentally do. Also, one of the vertical is into aerospace and defense, where we make anechoic chambers, test box, radar absorbing materials and stuff. So a lot of know-how and technology we have built around lasers, vision system, medical, and aerospace. Now, why what it struck to Dr. Cherian and Dr. Ipe when he visited us was the kind of technology what we have in-house, which can be translated into a medical aspect. So one of a very crucial technology that we have done is into diamond vertical, where we do a 3D scanning of a diamond, which is a fundamentally 3D rough scanning. And then we also have kind of a point scanning of that and a line scanning of that. And then we have an interesting technology where we are able to see the diamond from inside. So something like a three-dimensional X-ray or a CT scan. So okay, we use certain other terminologies when it comes to industrial. Here, we call it a slices. So CT slices. So combining all together and, you create a three-dimensional image. We have a technology where that particular three-dimensional image of a diamond, which is a rough scan, internal inclusion mapping, it is almost similar to the kind of a brain scan or a heart scan, what has been done. And that can be overlapped onto the virtual reality as well. So it can be looked upon on a 3D space in the OpenGL software, or the kind of software what we have built. We don't need a kind of a course correction where earlier there was a time when what I heard is like they were doing mapping of that particular image overlapping to each other, which we were also doing similar things in one of our applications. And now what we have done is like with our technology, which is artificial neural network based or on based, where it can do overlapping of those two images directly on each other. So that's what the technology which we have. Also certain applications on robotics, which we're working upon on fundamentally majorly applying towards vision system. I think a lot can be done when it comes to vision system with respect to neurosurgery. I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maulik, for coming here. In fact, this is the concept we wanted to have. Many things are happening. There are applications, but they are evolving in different parts of fields of science. So here we wanted those pure, innovators to come. And, unless we do this brainstorming, you do not know. It's serendipity is the basis of most of our applications today. What we get, it is evolved in one field and got used and benefited another field. So it's very nice of you to come over, and I should thank Mr. Bhagirath. He spent a phenomenal amount of time sitting in a bus coming from Surat all the way, and these people also had to change their plans. They were to come by train, the trains got cancelled and they changed. And we are very thankful to you for coming here. And then it's very nice idea from Dr. Aib that, you should see our setup. You see, one is talking and telling you what we want. Other thing is when you actually see, maybe you will see something which we are missing when we are trying to convey. So it's very nice of you to come here and visit our center. And any of you who have not seen it, we still kept it open so we could show you. Okay. We look forward to interacting. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sirs.
And thank you, Mr. Deshpande. I was waiting for Ike to come and maybe he would give a comment. And so we are very fortunate to have somebody who's an expert in artificial intelligence to be here with us, because it's a growing field and people like me are still trying to grope with the terminologies. But we understand the phenomenal capability of the AI potential. A guy like me, probably after 30 years, takes what it takes to learn. If I have to transmit this to a young neurosurgeon, all the algorithms we develop after making mistakes. Whereas a young neurosurgeon has to go through, should he reinvent the wheel, go through all the processes to learn the same thing? But today we are seeing AI, when I can think of one option, it will give me 5 options or 6 options for the same problem. I mean, it's phenomenal the way it's going to impact our medical science. And neurosurgery is where the precision is going to be high. It's a zero error area. People talk of 6 sigma when you're flying. And usually neurosurgery is compared with aircraft flying and the technologies. We can't make a mistake. And what is the security? What is the biggest problem for a neurosurgeon? It is that insecurity when you're doing, maybe you'll make a mistake. Maybe something is wrong. Now, if we have AI, that means we have visualized the whole thing before in 5, 6 options, not just one, which my experience taught me. And then the kind of security I'm sure as neurosurgeons we are going to have is phenomenal. And at least the health of the neurosurgeons will improve, they live longer. So I think this is the last talk. Anybody? One more is there? Who's there? Who?
Sai Teja.
Sorry, my hearing is going.
Sai
Please
Teja.
come. Yeah. This is, they have been immersive. Please carry on. I'll be talking till you start. Okay.
Now I'll call Mr. Sai Teja to speak on possibilities and potentials of immersive technology in the field of neuroscience.
So this is another example. We have got young minds doing brilliant work in small places quietly. And when you interact with them, you realize how much they can take us up or, take our idea forward. There's a group from Hyderabad. Hype has been closely working with them. And they did it in such a fast, short time, what we wanted. I think he'll talk about it.
Sure. Thank you so much, Ramdas sir, for introduction, and thank you so much, KVV and IPE sir, for giving us this opportunity. So today, I just want to talk about the potential of immersive technologies and break down the myths about what's VR, AR, and MR, and clear a confusion. It's more of, unplanned session that we had. So, does any one of you remember this? Few remember, right? What do you think he's doing? Whatever he wants, he just draws and it comes to real life, right? But what he's doing is he's imagining anything. So he imagines a car, the car comes into his room. He imagines anything and makes it into a reality. So for me, immersive technologies are imagination activating technologies. I can imagine any possibility and dematerialize that and get it into a virtual form. So VR, AR, MR are broadly called as immersive technologies in one umbrella, and they are imagination activating technologies. So why do we need these technologies? It may be in medical sciences or in general, is these extend the visualization capability. So most of the information that you see right now is either 2D or 3D, but it's all defined to the size of the screen. But what VR, AR, and MR will give you is the ability to see that things in real scale and provides you a sense of realism, right? So what we work on is activating that imagination, and otherwise we build immersive tech engineering. Before we go, I just want to give a very fundamental definition so there's no confusion between AR, VR, and MR. So this is the spectrum of immersive technologies from being less immersive to more immersive. When I mean immersive, how involved you are in. So augmented reality is something where you imagine what's not there. Like example, I imagine a virtual person here who's not there. I can see that through a camera phone. Augmented reality is always consumed using mobile phones or screens. Augmented reality doesn't need any headset. AR is very simple. You're imagining what's not there and extending what's there. In case of Snapchat filters or Instagram filters or many things, AR is simply overlaying, to put it very simple example, in cricket matches, if you see, after a ball strike hits, you could see a virtual overlay of the ball, right? You're overlaying digital information on real world. That's simple AR. So AR can bring you anything. Any digital element, AR can bring you anything, but it doesn't understand where it is being put information. Whereas mixed reality, you're not only imagining what's not there, but you're also being able to manipulate it. For example, I put a virtual person here, and that object understands that this is a floor, and it recognizes that this is a room or this is a surface, right? Mixed reality is always consumed through a head-mounted device. So there are several mixed reality headsets like HoloLens, Apple Vision Pro, Quest Pro, or many things, right? So it's not just extending information, but you can also enhance information in that. And I'll show you how. So this gives you ability to interact with the virtual elements you put it in the real life. AR will just put the virtual elements in real life. It doesn't need any hardware. It can be consumed through your mobile phones, 2D screens, or anything which has a camera. Camera is a primary input. Mixed reality, you're not just imagining what's not there, but also being able to manipulate it and make it understand where it's placed. Whereas virtual reality is being completely cut off from the real world. You don't see real world at all. Like it's a fully simulated environment. It can take you anywhere. So to put it simple for everybody, like AR can get you anything, bring you anything. Anything means any digital information. It can be a DICOM, it can be a CT, or it can be a virtual simulation or anything. Mixed reality will give you not only to put that in real world, but also being able to interact with it. VR can take you anywhere. So there's a broad confusion across industry. Like people use AR, VR together. People use MR. I mean, a lot of terms, and it can be simply simplified to spatial computing, if you say. So what we are working with Dr. Ipe, like when we met a couple of weeks ago, is getting them a better visualization in surgical field and imagining something which is not there. For example, the surgical theater which we have has an exoscope which is tied up with screens. But what we are doing is getting that exoscope output to mixed reality devices or the spatial computing devices like Apple Vision Pro. I'm not just showing a 3D output of that exoscope, but also we have a possibility to integrate it with the DICOM overlay. So any CT angio or any CT scans can be reconstructed and overlaid on top of it. It gives more visualization for the surgeon and more freedom to operate. So he doesn't need to be confined to a screen. He can look wherever and he can navigate the screen with around him. So this is one possibility that we are working on. We are in very, very early stages right now, but we see a huge potential in giving surgeon more comfort and extending his visualization capabilities. So when you talk 3D, it's already a better sense of understanding, but when you talk it spatially and having a control over that 3D and being able to manipulate it how you want, that's like more freedom and what was aligning with the IPSR's vision on hypervision. So this is a small work that we have done, which is tried. So in a surgical room, you could wear a mixed reality headset like Apple Vision Pro or MetaQuest. We are working with Apple Vision Pro right now, and we are coming up with our own headset, which I'll share. So when you see through that, you could see a full 3D reconstruction of a CT angio and exoscope output together. So you could get that, grab that in whatever field you want and use it, right? So this is a very initial proof of concept that we are working on. But here the point is like, I mean, there is a lot of possibility in simplifying and extending visualization for doctors. That's one context. Another context that we are working is making a neurosurgical atlas of all complex surgeries. For example, this is a surgical environment which is more complex during the COVID period, but it's not like a situation right now. So, as I said earlier, you can imagine any complex situation or dangerous situation and replicate it. You can imagine the same situation, make it a virtual environment, put it in a fully simulated environment, and make the doctors practice the complexity of it. Like you can always, I believe there's less chances that you work on complex cases every time, but you can simulate those complex cases and make them train on VR. Such is a thing that we worked with AIG Hospital in Hyderabad and made a transphenoidal TNTS surgery simulation. But these are all the use cases in neurosurgery, what we see. From education, there's a huge impact on education because this is a better way to diagrams or videos, right? So this, you feel that you are there. For example, the TNTS simulation feedback that we got, a doctor being an endoscope or a learner or a resident being an endoscope and like going through the nose and finding out the pituitary tumor and extracting it, memorizes him quickly, and he can like learn that quickly. The ability to learn and remember things has drastically improved in using immersive technologies in education. And we see a possibility in curriculum trainings and making remote learning. If, for example, a resident from India and a resident from US want to work on a dissection, they could do it virtually together. And there are a lot of use cases in practice for treatment planning, for complex surgeries. You could actually get the real CT and DICOM images reconstructed and basically operate on that. And you get haptic feedback even to get it. And even in patient care, like most of the patients right now are aware of what they're getting or like what they're going to be operated on. So these are very good ways to train patients or make them comfortable on what would happen with them when they go to OT, right? And you can offer more precision, most personalized care by having an assistant in it and a lot of potential, right? So our goal is to create that presence. Like presence is how involved you are in a particular thing. So there are a lot of visual aids, there are a lot of videos, animations, but nothing is real scale. When we put things in real scale, your brain thinks it's real and like you could remember it better, right? So we did like a TNTS surgery simulation and that worked like pretty well for making people understand things. And like now we are trying to work on a full neurosurgical atlas of all complex surgeries and make it available to young neurosurgeons and residents. And these are our key factors that we take care when we build immersive technologies. That is how believable it is. It can't be cartoonish or like how real it can be and how interactive it is and how much you can explore and how much you can improve than a real context. So real context can always be shown, but you could do something that's not possible in real life. Maybe, for example, a wild scenario. What happens when an emergency situation bursts out in OT? No fire happens, every safety is there, but how do you handle complicate situations is something that you can do it here. Like when you can imagine a fire in this room and make people escape and make them see, like you do have like a more better feedback on how do they respond to complex situations, right? So any dangerous complex situations or situations that are not possible in real life can be a better fit for these technologies in terms of education and training, right? And this is a headset that we are working. So this is a headset that has better resolution than MetaQuest Pro. Like I personally unfortunately we couldn't manufacture everything here. So I stayed in Shenzhen, China for like almost a month and like we figured out optics which can give better resolution and we are powered by Qualcomm's latest processor XR2 plus Gen 2, which has like full potential and we have full access to all 14 cameras that we place. So which can be deployed in very private and personalized settings. So we do have control over the full software ecosystem that we are building. It's fully designed in India and it's just we are manufacturing with the OEM providers, but it's all designed there. I just want to show a quick glimpse of that. There's sound, but it's okay. So this headset is like more designed for enterprise use cases and even for consumer use cases. But we have the full potential and we have done a lot of R&D on making it comfortable for users. We have counterweight on the backside where you can like wear it for longer hours. So we have also paired with multiple things like we have a full body haptic suit from a partner called B Haptics. We have a motion capture integration with Rococo, and we even have stereoscopic cameras in our pipeline where we can stream content. For example, in a surgical environment, you want to place first year MBBS students and give them access to see like how a surgery is done. You could place those stereoscopic cameras in the OT and you could stream that content and they feel that they're in the OT performing along with you. So we have recorded some of that and showed to people around. And we have been working on light field displays where you get to see 3D without even glasses. And there are some more things that we work for other use cases. For example, we build a lot of games and like if you're in a forest, we have a smell sensor which will invoke the scent of a forest. if you are like playing a gun game, like you can have a a gun shoot scent. Like, so the technology has evolved a lot. This is not at all a new technology. It's there from 1950s. It started from NASA, but the processing power has increased insanely over these years. And I mean, now like it's coming into full potential, and every major company is working. And personally, like I have started working on this like in 2017, like before that, even like when the DK1 started. That time I was just a college student, like working on a spine surgery guidance with AR, and that was very new, and it was just part of a hackathon. From then, like we have trained a lot of people, young students, on using VR for better educational outcomes. We have been evangelizing this technology. It can be used in multiple use cases and scenarios, but showing people the potential and the possibility of technology and democratizing that is being our primary mission. Like we are applying it in health sciences, we are applying it in entertainment and a lot of other things, right? So it is something that I learned over all those years starting a company. It's all about building specific knowledge and figuring out things and resources when we don't have. When we started, we had nothing. Like we didn't know much about neuroscience, even like DICOM data when we did our first experiment. But I strongly believe that we can reach out to any person in the world and figure out things. And like I mean that's what I feel entrepreneurship is, to figure out things when you don't know, and figure out resources when you don't have. And this is our team right now. Like all of them are young, passionate guys working on this for a long time. And that's it. That's about us. And in case you have any questions, need for these technologies to be integrated with your solution, feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you so much. So that was quite revealing for us, and we are working with them, and soon they'll be showing our products also. I'll take 1 minute to, honor you for coming here. It's our pleasure. Ajo. Your photo uploaded? Are you?
Up next, I would like to invite Mr. Nirav Patel to come forward and receive the token of appreciation. Nayak. Up next, I would like to invite Mrs. Anupam Nayak to come forward and receive the token of appreciation. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Ajit Deshpande to come forward and receive the token of appreciation.
Thank you all for patiently waiting and be part of this innovative thing we started from this year. And we wish to continue this every year. And we all shall grow and move forward. Thank you so much. With this, we conclude the session. And I'm sure all your lunch is delayed. Those of you going back to the hotel, it will be there, or I can conduct you. We have a small cafeteria. You can take a bite there. The choice is yours. And the cars are waiting for you to take back to the hotel. So those of you who are going in the evening, there'll be somebody to guide you. But those of you who are staying for a day or two, we'll be meeting tomorrow again. And I will be organizing. Okay. I think Professor Kazari, you are here till today, right? And you would be leaving tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning. And Zarur, that's why tomorrow spend with us. And even Anupam, I think, will be staying tomorrow. Yeah. So, good morning, usual. I'll inform you. Okay. Thank you. And thank you, Hemant, and the entire team. You've been a great support for us.
On behalf of the organizing committee, thank you once again for being a part of this incredible event. We look forward to seeing you at our next conference. Safe travels and goodbye.